Jurors right now deliberating on the fate of Paul Manafort, President Trump's former campaign chairman. He's accused of tax and bank fraud. Joining us now live to talk about that case and more is Manafort's former business partner, Roger Stone. Roger, good morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
What do you think is going to happen to Paul Manafort?
Well, I have no way of knowing. Obviously, I was not in the courtroom, nor did I follow every word of the trial. I do think it is a bad sign for the government that the jury has still considering the matter. I was rather surprised when the judge gave them the weekend off, but did not sequester them. But I would think it's a bad sign for the government, who most thought had a very strong open and shut case. I was also surprised that Manafort's lawyers chose to mount no defense, depending on their 90-minute, summary argument.
Do you think that you're next? Do you think that Robert Mueller is coming after you?
Well, having come up empty-handed of any evidence whatsoever of Russian collusion or WikiLeaks collaboration or any other illegal activity pertaining to the 2016 election, it's certainly possible that the special counsel may seek to conjure up some bogus offense in an attempt to silence me as a critic of this probe or to pressure me to testify against the president. They have taken a number of my current and former associates in front of the grand jury. Several of them have described that experience as bullying. When the prosecutor asks you a question and they don't like the answer, or you don't give them the answer they want, they cut you off, and so on. It's entirely possible, but I am confident that there is no one who could provide testimony or evidence of any wrongdoing on my part in connection with the 2016 election or anything else. That said, we all understand a federal prosecutor's ability in front of a flawed grand jury process to indict the proverbial ham sandwich. And I'm not interested in being Mr. Mueller's lunch.
We've already seen Michael Flynn, George Papadopoulos, Rick Gates all working with the special counsel now and potentially against the president. Is there any scenario where you would ever flip, where you ever would work with the special counsel against President Trump?
I would not rule out cooperating with the special counsel, but there is no circumstance whatsoever under which I would testify against the president. First of all, I have no knowledge of any wrongdoing by the president, and therefore I'm not going to be induced to, compose testimony in an effort to impeach him or to bring charges against him that would lead to impeachment.
What do you make of this weekend, John Brennan threatening a potential lawsuit against President Trump for revoking his security clearance? Do you think he has a case?
John Brennan is the chief perp in the largest political scandal in American history. We now know beyond a shadow of a doubt that the Justice Department of Barack Obama and the FBI used a document fabricated with the assistance of Russian intelligence to justify the illegal and unconstitutional surveillance of members of the Trump campaign. Should I be charged by Mr. Mueller, I will prove without any doubt that I was also subject to an illegal FISA warrant, as reported on page 1 of the New York Times on January 20th, 2017. I believe Manafort was also subject to such a warrant. The use of FISA warrants for political purposes is an abuse of power, the use of the state's authority to surveil and to spy, which is a scandal much larger than Watergate. Mr. Brennan has dissembled about what he knows about that under oath before the Congress. I think he is blowing smoke. I think this man has very substantial problems. As Rudy Giuliani said right here on Fox several days ago, it's Mr. Brennan who ought to be before a grand jury.
But how do we know that this was illegally obtained FISA warrants? I mean, these were conservative judges
Because
that were
FISA
appointed by Republican administrations who approved this. I mean, and
Yes,
what about that?
And
is
they were
illegal?
lied to. And they were lied to. And they were lied to. First of all, a FISA warrant can only be issued on an American citizen if they're actively involved in espionage on behalf of a foreign power. I wasn't. Manafort wasn't. I don't think Page was. Secondarily, it's absolutely clear that the judges in the FISA court were misled about the origins of the dossier.
How so?
Why did the FISA judge who issued them, they were never told that they were paid for through a conduit by Hillary Clinton's campaign. That was never disclosed. Why did the judge recuse himself without explanation? The judge who was first approached for a FISA warrant. Why does Mr. Stroke speak about approaching that judge in his text messages? No, that's the scandal. The Russian collusion investigation is meant to distract from that very scandal.
This weekend, Rudy Giuliani said that the Trump campaign had this meeting with the Russians as a way to get dirt on Hillary Clinton. He admitted that. Is that process itself bad form? Do you think that it's appropriate that a campaign meets with representatives of a foreign country to try to get dirt on an opponent?
Well, first of all, I'm not sure that it is illegal per se. We know that no such thing came out of the meeting. What troubles me more is the fact that the Russian woman lawyer was in the country on an unexplained basis. In other words, who granted her visa and what kind of visa was it? She was denied a visa by the U.S. attorney here in New York for a legal matter that was going on at the contemporaneous with the time she went to Trump Tower.
Even if it isn't illegal, is it appropriate? Do you think it's good form that a campaign meets with a foreign government to try to get dirt on their opponent?
I would not do so, generally speaking. Now, in a campaign, when you get a lot of people who come to you with or alleging information, some of it over the transom, I probably would not have taken that meeting, but there's nothing illegal about that meeting per se.
That will be, I think, part of what Robert Mueller looks into. Roger Stone, thank you for sharing your views. We appreciate it. And once again, nice job on the outfit.
Thanks for having me.
All right. We'll be right back.